Well, welcome to the Suicide Monk, and I'm your host, and my name is Britton.
Thank you.
We want to welcome Abby today. So, Abby, why don't you give me a little bit of your background, your childhood? I know we already really kind of talked about this, but I tend to mess things up. So, just give me a little background on you and how you grew up, and then you had mentioned you were an athlete. Just talk to
Mhm.
me a little bit about that, also.
Mhm. Right. So I'm Russian. I was adopted from Russia when I was about two. Um, so I was in an orphanage for almost 2 years before the most amazing, loving American family came and plucked me out of there. Um, I'm the only girl in my family. I'm one of four. Um, so that I was so
And
protected and
that's
loved growing up.
so three boys that are not adopted. They're
Correct. Biological to
okay,
my adoptive
and they wanted a daughter.
mom.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom just kept pushing out boys, and she was like, "We got to go get a girl." So they went to Russia and they got me. My childhood was good, comfortable, safe. I was so fortunate compared to how things could have been had I not been cherry picked um, out of there. So I
What do you mean by that? How what do you know about that? Are you going to get to that?
no, we can talk about it. I
Yeah.
don't know much. I just know that, there wasn't enough caregivers, obviously, as can be expected for an orphanage. So this just means, when you cry because you want to be held or fed or you need to be changed, there was going to be nobody to come and pick you up um, and, meet those primary needs of an infant, a baby. Um, and so when those developmental needs between the ages of 0 and 3 aren't made. I'm a psych major, also. We'll get to that. When those developmental needs aren't those first ones that a baby is like, crying out. That's their first
Right.
interaction with the world. Uh,
Yep.
and so when those aren't met, particularly if you have, negligent parents or, for me, it was just X, Y, and Z. But for me, it was just being in the orphanage. So I never had those first needs met. And that would later create a slew of issues for me, a slew of issues to no one's fault, just big ones
So
in life.
that detachment.
Correct. Never
Yeah.
forming um, your
Yep.
first healthy attachment. And those nervous pathways don't get to be fully developed. Um, it leads to a lot of issues, including like attachment. But one of them that I struggle with now, which I'll get to later, um, is like being able to see people as like full picture because I'm not able to form attachments fully.
Right.
So
Right.
I'll get into what that means, but yeah, it creates a slew of issues. It's annoying, but yeah. So and then I came to America. I have a great family. I was active in high school as a 3 season athlete. I really enjoyed it. Um, I'm an extrovert. I'm a little social butterfly, but I also have trouble maintaining, I would say, long term relationships and friendships. And this first started presenting when I was in high school. We're best friends one day, and then the next day dropped. Like you're disposable. You know what I mean? Mentalities like that, feelings like that, inabilities to form like genuine connection. And again, see people as full circle. People are both good and bad for somebody who never had those first kind of attachments and images of people and safeness and everything. It, again, creates a lot of issues and
Right. Yeah.
perception things that maybe aren't accurate. Um,
Yep.
Right. So then I moved on to college. I met a boy. We fell in love. I fell in love. We were together for, I think, a year. And then he broke up with me. Yeah. So I fell in love. We fell in love. Great relationship. It was healthy. It was beautiful. He was great and amazing. Um, and then he broke up with me about a year into it. And I believe this is when my BPD, borderline personality disorder, was triggered. Um, So I think for me, I probably BPD is an attachment based disorder. So that would make sense
Okay.
coming
Yep.
from an orphanage where I didn't get that first attachment, those first life lessons of like, oh, I cry and mom comes. I, do this and my needs get taken care of, and I'm able to build connection, a healthy connection. So I think, that's when my BPD started, the extreme stress and anxiety and heartbreak and pain and da 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 of
Mm.
losing this first person that I was able to build such a deep connection with. I think that's what triggered my BPD, because I remember it like it was yesterday. Like overnight, I just
Yeah, that would make
I
sense.
just switched into a totally different person. Now my symptoms back then were a lot different than they are right now, um, but oh my lord, it was like day and night. You know what I mean? The mood swings and the inability to self-regulate, which is like calm down. Like I don't need to be reacting like this. Just de-escalate. Um, I would just be like euphoric doing cartwheels in the grass, quite literally. And then 5 minutes later, I ran to the car just crying, sobbing. I'm an emotional wreck, you know, things of that nature. I didn't recognize myself in the mirror anymore. Um, I've always been a little bit hypersexual, but then it was just like off the walls with like the impulsive stuff. So like the sex, and I wanted to try drugs and alcohol for the first time in my life. Again, I lived
Mm.
a good
Yeah.
life, very safe. So I had never, up until 19, 20 years of, I think it was 20 years of age actually, um, ever touched drugs or alcohol, not even one sip, nothing. Um,
Wow.
and so, yeah, this flip that happened, and I was like, no, like I need like Molly, right? Like, not even like, oh, I just want to try some weed as my first time drug, or I just want to try some, I don't know what kids drink, but like just basic alcoholic drink, like insert basic
Right.
alcoholic drink here. I wouldn't even know what that is.
All right.
Right? Like, I don't know. Um, and just the flip overnight, it's just like I didn't even want like normal kid stuff. I just wanted like to just go to extremes. And it was overnight when the BPD presented. And yeah,
And that's one of the symptoms of that is that those extreme behaviors.
the
Is that
impulsivity and risk taking
okay?
behaviors. So, like meeting up with random men that you don't know, for sex. Are you about to be sex trafficked? Do they have a fetish or a kink for effing dead people? And you're about to be
Right.
their experiment? You don't know. You don't know
Yeah.
anything. So, and then I started shoplifting too as well. Oh my goodness, that was a bad one. That was a bad one. Uh,
Probably didn't need to, did you?
I definitely didn't need to.
Just one of those impulsive adrenaline.
Like I could feel something.
Yeah. Okay.
It was
That makes
such a
sense.
rush, like high risk, high reward. I would steal. I don't want to like incriminate myself too much, but I would go to like Sunglasses Hut and I would steal like Versace and Gucci and Burberry and Balenciaga sunglasses, and just because I liked the way they looked and they were easy to get. Um, and then I would just like hand them out like free candy to my friends because they were like men's. Sometimes they were just like men's sunglasses that I would look like a bug in because they would be like, for a man's
Right.
face. Just
Yeah.
absolutely, just stupid. So stupid. So dumb. So, anyways, the BPD presents. I know something is seriously, seriously wrong. So I start, going to check in with some professionals and be like, what's going on? And they start, screening me for bipolar. And I'm like, nope, I've never had mania. We're good. I've never.
So you started going to counseling? Is
I
that
started. I got a
or like therapist?
yeah, I got a psychiatrist, um, to be like, yo, something's going on. I hadn't had a therapist at this point, ever in my
Okay.
life. no. So I went to a
Yep.
psychiatrist and like, what's going on with me? So they start screening me for bipolar, whatever. They present borderline to me, but then the doctor at the time is like, I feel very unethical diagnosing people of your age with a personality disorder because that's major. And so just for me, it's an ethical guideline, whatever. There's a lot of
Sure.
stigmas and uncertainties within
Yeah.
under BPD because a lot of insurance won't cover it once BPD is written in your chart.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
there's a lot of reasons for that. Anyways, so during this time, whatever, I'm starting to seek help, going through the list of what could be wrong. And then me and the boy get back together. Um, and for another year. And I'm just like,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I'm just like I just torment him because one of the symptoms of BPD is like splitting, which means again, it's the full picture of somebody. I absolutely idolize you because I have a connection with you, which is rare for me. I idolize you. You hung the moon and the stars and everything. You are the most amazing person ever. Now you do something that hurts me, like break up with me and abandon me and, you know, trade me in for, I don't know, whatever I thought I was being traded in for, like disposed of me.
Sure. Sure.
Um, that would cause my splitting. And so I would be totally fine being like, oh my God, you're the best boyfriend ever. And the next moment, like name calling and you're a pig, you're disgusting, you're a terrible person, this, that, the third, just because in my brain, can't, I really struggle to understand that someone's both good and bad simultaneously. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of my behavior over the next year was just terrible, really terrible. Um, and he breaks up with me again, and I tried to commit suicide for the first time. Actually, my only suicide attempt. Um, so at this point, I'm about to.
Can I ask what your method was?
Mhm. Um, so we had broken up, and immediately I knew that I wanted to commit suicide. And so I let him, cry on me. I was like, just come here, it's okay. Blah, blah, blah. Because I was like, I'm not going through this again. I'm not doing the pain of
Oh, so
breaking
you
up
kind
with
of
you
shut off.
again. I did. I
Yeah.
absolutely shut off. I fought him for about 15, 30 minutes. And when I realized it was final,
Yeah.
like this sense of calm,
Mm.
like I would have like been dead terrified if I were him because I'm screaming at,
Yeah. I've seen that.
I'm screaming at you
Yeah.
like, no, you don't understand. And then I'm just like, it's okay, come here, lay down, lay down. We're gonna lay down. It's gonna be okay. And you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, oh my, it was just
Yeah.
eerie, 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 eerie. And so I decided, this is it, whatever, I'm gonna go kill myself. Um, so there's a beach down the road about 2 minutes, 3 minutes from where I was at the time. And I, walked him out to his car or whatever. And then I walked right down to the beach afterwards from his car. And I just started walking into the ocean. I had my full clothes on, my shoes, everything. Um, but it was self aborted because the water was absolute, and I know this now, the water was absolutely freezing, which made my limbic system shoot right down, right down. Um,
Yeah.
I was out there 50, 100 feet out. Like it was an ocean, so the drop off's really quick. Um, and then I almost didn't make it back, actually. I remember saying, what am I doing? One, because I was like,
You woke up.
in a way, I was like, do I really want to die? Like, but I was also like, do I really want to die this way? Because this seems kind of painful. I'm looking for painless. And this was a decision I made about 10 minutes ago. I could probably find more like, I'm a girl. We're supposed to commit peacefully, so to say, the statistics. And I was like, yeah,
Right.
this don't
Yeah.
feel right. You know what I mean? Um, anyways, so it was self-aborted. I was starting to leave the water. I was pretty far out. But then my shoe, I had my Converse on. that thick rubber around the Converse got stuck
Oh
in a
yeah.
rock, like just barely stuck in a crevice of a rock. Um, and so at that point, I really thought I was going to die for like maybe
Hmm.
18 seconds. Because I was exhausted and tired and crying and screaming and just, but still trying to self abort. Whatever. So I seek out a friend that lives another 15 seconds away from the beach. It was a college campus. Um,
Okay.
yeah. And seek out a friend and I approach the building and I'm just like screaming her name. It's absolutely ballistic. Like, oh my goodness. Screaming her name. She comes out. She gets, help from one of the staff on campus. They call my dad. I go inpatient for a while. Um, I get out from being inpatient, and 3 or 4 months later, me and this boy, me and this boy,
Just
um,
again, huh?
yeah, and it was always initiated by me, um,
Hmm.
because I don't know why.
Well,
The
it's hard to let go
attachment,
of.
the attachment,
Yeah, when you don't have that attachment and then you attach to somebody,
yeah,
and then to have to let that go. I mean, that's a
mm-hmm,
you've broken barriers, and now you've got to
mm-hmm,
break another barrier. So
yeah,
it sounds like it. I mean, that's the way I would
yeah,
think about it.
yeah.
But
And I think for me, I'll finish the story and then reflect on why I think I'm completely and
sure,
utterly unable to X, Y, and Z. Um, so we get back together a third time. We stay together. Everything's okay. I'm still tormenting him, but because I don't know how to do better at the time. I'm, you know, just such a selfish and jerky person at the time. But I was still the type of girlfriend that woke up at 6 a.m. with him just to cook him breakfast every single day and do his hair for him and make sure that his clothes were all ironed and everything. Like, you know what I mean? In my head, we were married. You know what I mean?
right,
Just so to say the
right,
least. Like, I was
yeah,
definitely an amazing girlfriend. I just really had some mental health issues that needed to be addressed. Um, um, During this time, also, which was a pivotal moment in our relationship, I'll speak on this later. I experienced like rage for the first time, like genuine
hmm,
rage. I'm not an angry person. I skip out on some emotions entirely, like
yeah,
entirely. Um, and anger is one of those. It's not entirely, but it's very, 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 very rare. Once a year, if that.
hmm,
Like just I don't know. I don't know. um, Anxiety and like sexual arousal. Nope, I've never felt those. Um, Empathy, my empathy levels are very, very low. I really struggle with that. And then connection, that's a big one, obviously. I struggle with that severely. I cannot, I, not to say cannot, but it's extremely difficult for me to form a connection with somebody.
hmm,
Extremely.
yeah,
To the point where,
yeah,
like I almost feel neutral about my family and my best friend of 21 years. Um, like I just almost feel neutral towards everybody. Um,
yeah,
so
yeah,
that's really difficult. That's a really difficult one. Um, yeah, so there's a whole slew of emotions and things that I, for whatever reason, do not seem to experience the same way that other people do. And so, yeah, we were together for another entire school year. And then he broke up with me in November, so however many months ago that was. I have maybe like 5 or 6 memories of then till now. Like, I'd like to
sure,
say I've been blackout drunk on my own BPD and dissociation. Like, um,
mm,
kind
yeah,
of poke fun at it. But, like, yeah, I have not been functioning at all. Um, in the sense of like I haven't really been able to go to work. I am not in school entirely anymore. I'm doing all my classes online. I've been and mental health programs, partial programs, if you know what those are, where you're kind of
I don't.
so partial program is partial hospitalization program. It's just one step lower from totally inpatient. So when you're inpatient, you stay overnight, like you live in that hospital, right? And then
Okay.
when you're in a partial program, you go and visit the hospital from like 8 a.m. to like 3 p.m. So, and you're just doing like group therapy and meeting with your psychiatrist and your therapist and just working on yourself all day long, so to say.
So is this for school or is this for
So,
that's for school?
no, so since
That's what you're doing for your own mental health.
correct at the moment,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
at the moment. So that's where I am. I don't want to be inpatient again. Um, but I,
Sure.
but I yeah, have a lot of threats of suicidality. Um, yeah, so
What why can I ask why suicide's on the table? Is it
yeah. Um,
is it because of is it because of disassociation?
so sorry if this is all kind of mumble jumble. I haven't spoken about
No,
it. I'm
no.
trying my best
Let's
to
just
make
have a
a full
conversation.
a full picture here.
You're
Try to
great. You're
make
doing
sense.
fine.
Thank you. Um, yeah, so after he broke up with me, I knew it was final this time, and I wasn't going to go after him again. Um, and that's devastating. BPD is an attachment based disorder. People with BPD are, kind of known to only like seek out relationships, which I resonate with. I mean, I'm about to lose my train of thought. Um,
That's okay. Is it because of security
yeah,
that you
definitely.
seek out relationships like that?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, certainly.
Okay.
I think that in my head, the way I see it is, I've never had a goal in my entire life besides to be pretty and to have cute makeup and, you know, because I have also dysmorphia since a very young age. So my way of combating that was doing the most on the outside. Um,
And what's the dysmorphia?
Body dysmorphia.
You can body
Mhm.
dysmorphia. Okay, you can talk to me like I'm an idiot because I kind of am.
Okay, no
Like I
worries.
don't
No, you're
understand any of
not.
that stuff.
You're
So
not.
tell me like
It might be
what's
like a newer
body
term. I'm not
dysmorphia?
even sure. So body dysmorphia is just extreme perceived imperfections of yourself when you look at yourself in the mirror. Or you're just absolutely so disgusted and hate your own body to like every extent. So, anyways,
Hmm.
it's just extreme feelings of disgust and hatred towards your body. Um,
Sure.
so,
Yeah.
anyways, that kind of go a little bit more intense and long-standing and present in different ways than normal like body insecurity, if that makes sense. It's just the next level of it,
Yeah.
basically. So, anyways, I've had body dysmorphia since a very young age. Um, like I remember being little and like in front of my mirror, like taking scissors and like pretending to cut apart my body and like remember it, like the parts that I didn't want. So like if I wanted bigger boobs, I would just be like cut. I was like cutting myself, but I was like, and then I'll put new ones in. Like I remember from a very maybe like 11 years old being in front of the mirror with like a pair of scissors and being like, this is what I would fix and this is what I would get rid of. Just like strange
Wow.
concepts like that. Just so weird. So, anyways, my way of combating those feelings my entire life has been full face of makeup, hair's always done.
Hmm.
You won't really see me in hoodies and sweatpants very often. Um,
Sure.
Things like that. Um, so yeah, body dysmorphia was a
So
big one for me.
so can I just ask a few questions about this? I don't know much about
Yeah.
it, but I'm under this assumption. So if somebody complimented you, what how does that affect you or not affect you? Or does it affect you?
Mm-hmm.
Um, or the opposite. I mean, do you hear negativity? How does that? I mean, does any of that like
Mm-hmm.
penetrate
Mm-hmm.
anything other than you already feel? I would assume that negativity enhances what you already feel about the dysmorphia.
Certainly.
But does positivity kind of reverse that?
No, no. Um,
Okay.
I think the way I can sum it up the best is I have to be dating you and in love with you for like 8 months before you will ever see me with my makeup off. Like I
Wow.
will, it doesn't matter if you're sleeping right next to me. I'll go to sleep with my makeup on and then wake up before you to like fix it up because it got like messed up during the night. You know, you're sleeping, it wipes off to make sure like it was like perfect.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, um,
Yeah.
yeah, no compliments don't really do very much. I'll be like, "Mm, that's nice," you know what I mean? But
Right.
I'm like, dude, spend a day with me. Like, I'm sure you wouldn't, you know what I mean? Um, yeah, and then obviously
So
nobody
it's that,
does what you would assume. Yeah.
yeah. So that self degradation to
Mhm.
prove yourself right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Huh.
yeah.
And so, and I'm hopefully I don't get too personal here, but
Mhm.
I'll just ask questions.
Mhm.
But so, do you think that played into does so is the BPD, is that part of the hypersexuality? Is that, or is it also the body dysmorphia
That's a good connection.
that you're looking for
Mhm.
affirmation
Mhm.
in so many
Mhm.
different ways?
Mhm.
I don't know. So
That would be correct. It's deeply, deeply derived from the body dysmorphia, but the
okay,
BPD enhances the risky
okay,
behavior. Like
yep,
I should just get,
yes,
you know what I mean, like a long-term sex partner instead of like, well, I'm Abby and I shouldn't have to decide, so I'm not going to. Everything can be mine.
gotcha,
um,
right, right,
you know what I mean? So yeah, it definitely feeds off of the body dysmorphia, but it's deeply intensified and becomes a lot riskier because of the impulsive and risk taking behaviors. Sex, again, is a really big one for me. It always has been.
sure. So how does that affect your psyche? How does that affect? Is this? I don't know if these are good questions or not,
How does sex
but how
affect it or
does?
body dysmorphia?
Well, because you seem like you're awake to it. You're conscious of it.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it something that you're okay with? Is it something that
Yeah.
plays into uh, this idea of suicide ideology? Is it, does that play into it? I mean, is there shame there behind that stuff, or
No.
I don't know.
Yeah, no. For me, I'm a psych major. I'd like to think if I don't commit suicide, that the only thing I could ever see myself doing um, is maybe doing like sex therapy later in life. I grew up in a very sex positive household. Safe sex is great sex. You know what I mean? So I think,
Right, right.
you know, teaching people how to have safe sex, great sex, and be safe in their sexual encounters. That could be an interesting life path for me. Um, so I guess that's why I'm so sex positive. So I'm definitely not ashamed of it. I'm just
Okay,
very
yeah,
aware of it. You're right. I am very aware of it. Uh,
okay,
yeah, definitely.
okay.
Um,
Because well, a lot of people grow up with shame when it
mhm,
comes around
mhm,
surrounding sex, and then they have a lot of sex
mhm,
with a lot of different people, and they
mhm,
feel a lot more shame.
mhm,
So it's
mhm.
like, so if you don't have that, I mean, I think that's great.
Yeah,
That's not part. We have enough to deal with
yeah,
on a regular
yeah,
basis with all the shit that goes through our heads
yeah.
anyway. So that I was just curious about
Exactly.
that.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah, thanks for elaborating on that.
thank you for asking.
So why not do? Why not push towards doing something like that?
Yeah, so I asked myself the same question. I think after, me and this boy broke up the third time, and I like genuinely accepted we're not getting back together, I realized that, you know, I had never like come alive or felt alive even until I met this boy. Is that because he was like the most amazing, special boy on this entire planet? No. Is that because I have extreme issues with attachment and everything else? Yes. Um, but for whatever reason, I didn't realize I never felt alive, that I never felt connected to my world. Like I like live behind a glass wall and I'm just touching and feeling and
Yeah.
viewing through um, kind of a
Yeah.
buffer. Um,
Yeah.
and I mean, I was so fortunate. I never realized it until I was like 20 years old. Like that's about as good as it gets for you to get, for you to have these issues that you're apparently we're going to have your whole life, but to never get to like suffer through it through childhood. That was remarkable, honestly, because I never realized it. I always
Yeah.
felt empty, but I never had the vocabulary or the self understanding or awareness to be able to be like, yeah, no, I don't feel what everyone else feels.
Sure.
I feel disconnected. I don't things of that nature. And then I think another big part of it is, I've never, again, going back to the body dysmorphia, I've never had a goal in my life or a hobby in my life besides combating the body dysmorphia through nails and hair and shopping and beauty.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never really had a hobby. I wouldn't consider the sports in high school that I played a hobby just because I was deeply, deeply encouraged slash forced to play them by my
Hmm.
parents and my family. And that was whatever. It's fine, whatever. Um, I don't understand what people like feel. Like, what do they like about life? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, I don't. What are people's? I struggle
It's
with a lot of
interesting
those
that you asked that.
ideas. I struggle with a lot of those ideas. Really.
Well, no, it's interesting that you asked that because I asked the same question,
Mhm.
and mine derives from trauma,
Yeah.
where yours doesn't,
Yeah.
and that's a very interesting thing because we both asking the same question.
Yeah.
It just comes from two very different places.
Yeah.
So, because I've always felt the disconnection, I've always felt like an observer of life, like I'm
Yeah.
just standing back, away, even behind myself, and watching things happen. And I've never really been able to like articulate that until even recently.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like a lot of these things, especially the story that you heard of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I have not been able to articulate most of that until I started walking towards my death. I
Yeah.
mean, and that's the weird thing is like I found life in the midst of
Yeah.
looking for death. Death,
Yeah.
death. I was looking for death,
Wow.
but yeah.
It takes a long
So
time to get to the origins of these things and be able to actually put your finger on it. And then
yeah.
on top of that, be able to like label it and describe it and work it backwards. Yeah, it takes a long time.
Well,
Yeah.
you're really intelligent and you
Thank you.
have knowledge in it.
Thank you.
So how does I would imagine that you're learning to navigate your struggles that you didn't have as a kid, so you didn't have to learn how to navigate them then.
Mm-hmm.
But now as an adult, you're learning how to navigate that. Like I think I'm just now learning how to navigate. Well, I'm just learning how to navigate my anger and my rage.
Yeah.
And I've been working at it for 40 years.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, there's something beautiful about the suffering. That's a terrible thing for me to say, but there is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's not much more guaranteed in this life, but suffering is one of those.
It's true.
And then the crazy thing is that you can have joy in the midst of suffering, and I know that because I've experienced it. Extreme suffering to not happiness, but
Yeah.
joy. Like everything's still the same,
Yeah.
it's but everything is okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's just okay, and I'm okay with just watching how it unfolds. And yeah, these are problems in my life, but they're actually unfolding. And the more I observe and just watch them and be patient with them, they tend to unfold in ways in more beautiful ways than I ever thought. Um, so do you experience joy?
I would say,
It's very different than happiness. I don't
yeah,
know
yeah,
if,
yeah. I definitely don't presently experience happiness. I definitely don't currently experience joy. But one of my very few memories from November till whatever month it is now um, is I saw a blimp. And oh my
A blimp.
goodness, yes, it was the best day of my life um, in the last however many months. I literally started crying. I was just so happy. You know what I mean? I was just a joyful MF motherfucker. I was a
Yeah.
joyful motherfucker
Yeah.
because I saw a blimp
Yeah.
and it was magical. I just love blimps. Like, who doesn't? You know what I mean? I wouldn't really trust you if you don't love blimps, to be honest.
Right. I've never seen a blimp.
What?
Just hot air balloons.
Okay, I've never seen a hot air balloon,
Yeah.
so we're even.
Oh man,
We're
go to
even.
Colorado for July 4th. Oof,
They
it's
scare me.
crazy. Oh, they're beautiful.
They're not a little
Early
bit
morning,
scary.
6 o'clock. What's
They're
that?
not a little bit scary.
Oh, I'm terrified.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Yeah.
terrified of heights.
Okay,
Yeah,
same.
terrified of
Yeah, I
heights.
would have been scared.
But I'm a rock climber too, so I'm afraid, so I go do.
Yeah,
That's
you got to
like
do what you got
I
to do.
don't want to do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like I can't. I live in fear, so I have to face all those a lot of times until I get good at facing them.
yeah,
It's just like going into public. I have a really hard time going into public,
yeah,
but I face that fear every time I go into public. But it's getting better and better.
yeah.
So,
Just do it.
but I've also found purpose and feel like everybody's got a story now, and
Mhm.
there's an opportunity
Yeah,
every time I run into somebody.
yeah.
So so you don't sound like you leave your place a whole lot. Like you don't go out and don't do a whole lot, or is that
Yeah, no.
don't have a lot of hobbies?
Um, so actually, I'll be 22 in a month. After 21 years of age, I can confidently say I found my first hobby very, very, very recently. That wasn't like shopping or sex or drugs or you know like a real hobby,
Sure.
a real hobby.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty proud of it. I just go to the gym. I just go to the gym,
Really?
yeah. And I just lift my little weights and I take my pre-workout.
Okay, so you lift weights. You don't just go to the gym. That's good.
I
Just go and walk
don't
around.
just people watch at the gym. I actually like,
Okay.
I'm trying out this new thing, called,
Trying to, well, they say it's one of the best things you can do is exercise
yeah, no.
are you a depressed person? Would you say you're depressed?
No, I've never experienced depression, but currently I am
Really?
depressed. But like lifelong, no, I haven't had depression. No, I've been very fortunate.
So but you said you've been planning this for a while.
Yes. This is,
Do you want to talk to me about
yeah,
that?
I'm not even sure how to conceptualize the feelings into words because all they've been is closed off feelings since the beginning. So to even try to speak on it might be tricky.
That's all right.
I think, obviously since then, I just turned off, like, lacked out, very little memories, not functioning, like, not, completing schoolwork or work. Um, I've also, let me think. So not functioning since then. Um, and then just chronic feelings of suicidality. Um, because again, in my head, I'm just like, life's already as good as it can get. I don't want to redo this whole process with another person because having another favorite person is what people in the BPD community call it. It's basically the one person that you build your connection with. And because of that, they become your entire world. So when they go away, it's like there's
Sure.
literally a death. Like you die inside because abandonment is death. The equivalent of death to people like me, a lot of times. Um, so I think for me, just absolutely crushed by being abandoned by the same person, like again, um, and just I think mortified at the idea that my inability to feel and set goals and have motivations in real life and my hyper focus on my relationships and my favorite person. Um, I don't ever want to do that again. First off, I don't think I'll ever achieve a relationship or find somebody that will be as amazing as this individual was. Um, the only thing that could have been better is if he would have stayed. You know what I mean? If he could have been different in that regard. Um, but
So you think it was you were too much for him to handle? Is that what you're kind
I
of
don't know why we broke
saying?
up. I don't
Okay, you don't know
know.
because you're saying you put him through hell a lot of times, probably
Yeah,
that up and down, and
yeah,
um,
yeah.
I assume he's about the same age. You know,
Correct,
yeah,
correct. So I think
yeah.
um, just my combination of not being able to feel a whole lot and understand what like life is, what people like about life, what what do people like besides their like romantic partner and kids? I I couldn't tell you. I don't know. Um, so I think my inability to understand a lot of things, um, my lack of sense of self, like identifying moments in my life, as is very evident, are this boy, no more of this boy again, no more of this boy, back right up when we get back together, back right down when we aren't together. Those are like the
Mm-hmm.
that's what I remember about my life. Like I don't know, and that just speaks so much on my lack of identity, which is another big BPD criteria. Lack of sense of self, chronic feelings of emptiness. Um,
So, can I ask a personal question? You don't
sure,
have to answer this.
sure,
It's personal because it has to do with your parents.
sure.
Were they loving? Were they?
Yes.
Did you
Mhm.
get physical touch a lot and affirmation a lot?
Um, so my relationship with my mom was really, really difficult growing up. But my dad was the only person that I had a connection with up until I met this boy in college. But like
Okay,
genuine connection, like I can't even define what it feels like. But I know I don't have it for a lot of people. The list is
sure,
short. It's only two people. um,
sure,
so, and that just means like I don't feel neutral towards you, I guess.
right, right.
Like,
I mean, I understand it because I felt that way during
yeah,
a lot of times in childhood.
okay, good. I'm glad it
When you don't
makes
trust,
sense. Yeah,
it does. It
good.
makes a lot of sense to me. I just don't.
Hmm.
I don't see. I think I am afflicted with a lot of little things, uh, but they're not enough to be a diagnosis.
Yeah,
So it allows me to understand a lot of things because I'm
yeah,
like, oh, as you're speaking, I'm like, I totally get it.
yeah, yeah,
And but I think the difference is my extremes. When I go to extremes, they're different.
yeah.
My extremes are different
Hmm. Sure.
than so I just have little saltings of a lot of different personalities from people. But and that could have been because of the way I grew up. And I mean, I was an observer since I was a kid,
Hmm.
so I learned behavior, what was acceptable, unacceptable,
Hmm.
because I wasn't really taught those things.
Yeah,
So I adopted other people's
yeah,
behaviors, and even today, I still kind of do that.
yeah. And you just mirror your
It's
way through
natural.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah. Because I didn't really have an identity.
yeah,
I was never like
yeah,
never given that identity,
yeah.
never shown or taught, or I don't
Mm,
know how that happens.
yeah.
I don't know if you're born with an identity. I
Yeah,
have
me
no idea,
neither.
but I never had it.
I don't get it.
Right.
Yeah, I understand it as like an abstract concept, but like to me,
Yeah.
identity, if you ask me what my identity was, I would just start like listing off facts. Like I'm Abby, I'm from Russia, I'm a psych. Like, is that my identity? I guess. Like I don't know. I think the world's too like obsessed with that idea. Like, oh, I just need to go and find myself. Maybe that's naive and arrogant to say, but maybe it's just because I don't understand it. I really
Well,
just don't
and
understand it.
I get the question. I get
Right?
the like the logic behind it. It's like, you know, I don't understand going to try to find your own identity either.
Like
It's
what?
just like, it's a foreign concept to us, though. That's the thing. It's like this very, like, I understand what people are saying, but I don't understand the like emotion behind it or
Right,
the thought process behind it. Like,
right,
how do you find something that you never had?
right.
I feel like Peter Pan and all this. It's like,
In my head, I'm like, they're like, I need to go find myself. I need to go find what? Find
right.
what? Like,
Yeah.
explain to me. Like, yeah, I'm the same way through and through. It don't click.
Well, and I'll tell you,
Mhm.
it's even hard for me today, even trying to find that. But because in my mind, I'm better off gone. And people are like, look at what's happening in your life because you found purpose. I'm like, yeah, but it's on record, so I don't have to really. I mean, people can find it if I'm gone.
Mhm.
Like in my mind, I'm like, I don't understand it, but
Mhm.
they keep giving me affirmations
Yeah,
that I'm
yeah.
valuable,
Mhm.
that I'm worth something. And I'm like, I don't know, I don't understand that,
Yeah.
but I'm going to believe you.
Mhm. Do you feel it?
I'll just believe. Yeah, I don't feel valuable at all.
Do you yeah,
I don't feel.
do you feel the like the reward and achievement feelings in what you're doing that people say
No,
gives you purpose, quote unquote? Do you align
no,
with that? No, you don't.
no.
I would say
I
the same
don't.
thing. Yeah,
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 and I think part of that is I'm afraid of ego.
yeah.
I'm afraid of narcissism. I'm afraid of um, misusing that
Mm-hmm.
feeling of, I don't know how to put it. Maybe glorification. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, or that overabundant affirmation. I don't know how to put that. Just that ego gets in the way
Mm-hmm.
of, and I'm terrified of that, because then I become pointless, and then I really become useless, and
Who had
I feel like useless now, but
who had
I
too much
really
of an
become
ego?
useless.
Who had too much of
What's
an
that?
ego or was a narcissist that you're scared of being that?
My mom. It
Yeah,
was, yeah, it was bad. She's
yeah.
just, but it's. I mean, I don't. Again, I don't. I feel bad for her because she's lost so much. She's lost her kids, and
Mm-hmm.
they're not. I'm not in her life. My sister's out of her life, and
Mm-hmm.
when you're that kind of person, you lose a lot, and she doesn't even see it.
Yeah,
That's the hard part, and that's the really hard part, because you hope for somebody, but sometimes they can't see past
yeah,
their own mental health issues and their own disease to do something about it.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what are some of your other struggles that you deal with the bipolar? Or is it?
Borderline.
I
Borderline.
borderline. I keep thinking BP,
No,
so it's
you're good.
bipolar. Borderline.
Yeah, it does get
Are those similar? Is
uh,
bipolar and borderline similar?
yeah, so a lot of people say that they're like sisters or cousins to each other. They both just
Okay.
have to do with differing mood states. The main difference is that BPD, what I have, the cycling through the emotions of like rage, happiness, euphoria, deep distress and upsetness, and then feelings of emptiness and numbness, all those types of things. You cycle through them. It can be 5 minutes. It's been 5 minutes for me. It can be 1 hour that you go through all of those emotions to an extreme. Like when I'm sad in that hour, I am on the floor sobbing, like in fetal position, like I'm gonna kill myself. I'm gonna kill, like, and then 5 minutes later, euphoria. Like I'm the best, like, you know what I mean? But then
Yeah, I do.
then the bipolar people will have the cycles are a lot longer, and then they also usually include
Um,
mania. Um, but I personally don't experience mania. But for people with
I think I
bipolar, they
lost you,
might
Abby.
have like a depressive episode for a month, a week, 6 days, and then they might come out of it and have a couple maybe normal days or manic days, and then they'll go. But their cycles are a little bit longer. So I think that's.
So yours are real short. You're on a roller
Oh
coaster,
yeah,
not just
people
a
describe it as that all
not
the
just
time. Hmm.
yeah. That's
Yeah,
a big jump, because I've had those
I think you're a little
swings
bit
in my life.
frozen.
Well, most of my life. and they're extreme, but I still think I'm within boundaries of
No.
of like I'm not totally on the edge like you're describing. I understand it
Mhm.
because I've dealt with it,
Yeah.
but as I've worked, I realize I'm just in these motions that are very similar to what people like extreme struggles that
Yeah.
they really deal with, like what you're describing.
Yeah.
Um, so that's got to be very difficult. Now, do you take
Yes.
medication or anything?
No. I'm at the point where I don't believe that medicine can help me. Sure, it'll make the roller coaster less high and less low, and for
Right.
shorter periods of time. So maybe instead of being like out of 10 upsetness level, I won't be a 10 anymore and I'll be like an 8 or a 7, which would be nice. Um, it would just do that. Meds would just do that. They would just make it the emotional roller coaster a little shorter and a little bit less intense. But the least of my problems are the emotional instability. It's just like the chronic feelings of hopelessness, worthlessness. I don't want anything to do with life because one, I don't feel the things that other people do. I don't have hobbies or goals or things like that. Um, and then on top of it, I do not ever want to do the whole favorite person, BPD and relationships thing again. Like, I'm good. You know what I mean? The emotional pain every day. The stats on BPD are very interesting. BPD is known as the most emotionally painful disease. It has not only
Hmm.
the highest number of suicide attempts out of any other mental health population, including like schizophrenia, which is really surprising when you compare it to like scary things like that. But it also has the highest number of successful suicide attempts within any other mental health disorder, and that's just because people with BPD, they have a bigger amygdala and a bigger, hippocampus, and so they really do feel emotions more intensely, more deeply, internalize them even deeper. The lack of sense of self and the chronic feeling, just all of it all together is what kind of makes it known as the most painful mental disease. And I would 100% agree with that. For me, I would say that the best way I can describe that pain, which professionals in the psych field have described BPD, interestingly enough, as having third degree, 90, what is it? It was like,
Third degree burns.
yeah, third degree burns over
Yep.
90% of your body. That's what they say it
Okay.
is.
Yep.
That's what they say the levels of emotional um, hurt and distress and pain within a BPD person is comparable to. Um, and I would 100% agree with that because for me, when I'm on this roller coaster of up and down and up and down, it's like the moment, the trigger or whatever, it's like the moment's happening all over again for the first time. You would think that this, you know, me crying over X, Y, and Z and me getting triggered over X, Y, you would have thought it just happened 5 minutes ago and I was reacting to it in real
Mm.
time. It's so incredibly painful every single time. Like, oh, just like stab me in the heart already. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I
Jesus.
know. I know.
That's the best way I can kind of describe it. The intensity of those
Yeah.
emotions and how they feel for me. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, I think for me, I don't understand a lot of these big concepts. I don't have hope for the future. I'm not functioning. I don't I don't get what people care about life, and I've never cared about anything besides, I guess, relationships is the best way I can describe it. And I don't want to do the emotional pain again. I just want to be painless. You know what I mean?
Do you have? I do know what you mean
Yeah,
all too well. Um, do you have any sort of spiritual life?
not so much. I think I kind of used to be
Okay.
super into it, but No, not at the moment.
So you haven't really lost hope in anything, but I mean, because that's maybe this is just my
Mhm.
lack of understanding, but that's where I generally see um, people who want to take their life. That's where there's this hopelessness that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Yeah.
part of it? I mean, you just
Yeah.
like you just don't want to feel these extreme feelings anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, what if there was something that could change that course? I mean, what if psilocybin therapy or MDMA? That's almost through federal regulation now. I
Yeah.
mean, that's going to be a therapy option that has high success rates for a wide variety of people and with mental health problems.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you got ketamine. That
Yeah.
there's these they seem to be all psychedelic, but they all seem to have a high success rate
They say
in
it's
a very
because
very
you,
short term.
yeah, I think they say it's because you lose your, you have like an ego death on a lot of those and you lose your sense of self.
Right.
So you're able to reframe all your traumas. Yeah, I've been interested in ketamine for a very long time for personal use, but I think it's therapeutic. Interventions is probably a much healthier and better way
Yeah.
to experience
Yeah.
KET. But yeah, I, I haven't considered those. I think they're super cool and very promising. Um, I know you mentioned that you were going to do some sort of interesting new
I
treatment
I am.
as well.
Yeah. I I'm going in. I leave in a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. I have to be there at the beginning of June.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a psilocybin therapy.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a hero's dose.
Mhm.
But I just happened to come across these
Mhm.
guys, and my buddy he invited me to his ranch to do
Mhm.
this, and so like it's the only reason I think I'm still here.
Are you looking
That's
forward to it?
dangerous. Well, I don't necessarily. It's I can't imagine that you want to kill yourself. That's what you want in life.
Mhm.
I can't imagine that anybody wants to just kill themselves.
Mhm.
It all has to do and it has to stem around either mental health problems or trauma of some sort. And it's like, no, if I had a choice, yeah, I'd be out here living my life and enjoying it and
Right.
having a partner and just
Right.
living, struggling through the normal stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not one of those people.
I would love to
I don't
struggle
have
through
normal
normal
stuff.
stuff.
All right.
I would love that. But I can't get it together. I can't overcome even like the smallest thing because the smallest things in life are your connections and your basic ability to feel and
Mhm.
like, and that's what just pisses me off about it. But because it's so minuscule, it's not minuscule, but the way, of course, we talk to ourselves. So, not to say anybody else's feelings or your feelings are
Right.
minuscule, but of course, when you look in on them, that's what you feel. You're just like, but that kid in Africa right now, because that's what society tells us to do.
I know.
And that's so gut wrenching, but I won't even get into that. Um,
Yeah. But I don't know if you saw my.
yeah, yeah,
It is.
deep breath.
Yeah.
Yeah, I deal with that daily. Um, and so I don't know. I think for me, I would, I just want a day where I don't have to do anything for anybody. I don't have to be on anyone's agenda. Um, I just want a day where I'm not planned to do anything because everyone knows plans are what keep you around. And you know what I mean?
If you could do it different, would you?
My life.
If you could live, would you? Like live. Still struggle through some of this stuff.
If I could have that person back, yeah.
It's not about the person. You're the person.
No.
So there's this, and I'm kind of I'm the most valuable person in my life,
Yeah.
and I can't be valuable to other people unless I find value in myself.
Right.
I I didn't know I had that. I stumbled upon this podcast and doing this and found purpose for the first time in my life. After 54 years, I've found purpose in my life.
Right.
And that's to help people like you and I
Mm-hmm.
and fumble through this shit,
Mm-hmm.
because none of it, we're all silent.
Yeah.
Everybody's silent. And they're even trying to shut us up now
Yeah.
with, the more you self-reflect, the worse the problem gets. Bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
If you self-reflect and try to work yourself out of it,
Mm-hmm.
you're doing yourself a service. You're not ignoring something, but
Right.
they're trying to shut society up again. And I think that's, for lack of better terms, that's the evil in the world.
Yeah.
Somebody thinks they know the best because they're a psychologist, but
Right.
they don't struggle with this shit.
Yeah.
They don't know that at 18, I went out on a journey to try and find life, and I've been working my ass off for 44 years to do it. And
Right.
have I found it?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's hard to say, but I don't want to just quit either.
Mm-hmm.
And because I don't know if it's my Irish blood, but you should just tap into that Russian and be like, I'm going to dig in and fight,
I
because
don't
that's what we
understand.
do.
Like, I don't, being in group therapy all day and talking to someone like you,
Yeah.
that's the statement that also really gets me. The identity talk really
Yeah.
gets me. The goals talk really gets me. But also I would like to live. I would like to get over this. I would like to work through this. Whatever people are saying around, that's another
Mm-hmm.
big one for me. I
Why is that?
I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea.
So something I discovered just recently, I'm having since it's probably been 2 months.
Yeah.
I've been struggling with I want to take my life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want I can't, I'm trying to hold on to suicide
Yeah.
and be like, well, no, this is an option.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm like, well, that's like something's happening in my head, in my brain. It's like, why is that an option?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you just navigate the problem that's in front of you?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, why don't you just shut up? Because
Mm-hmm.
I want to hold on to
Yeah.
this. And it's slowly peeling away from me. And I don't know why, because I haven't done the therapy.
Yeah.
And my situation again is still the same. Still poor, still live in my car, but it's okay. Like once I let go of the worry and the fear,
Mm-hmm.
things just kind of, they flow.
Yeah.
And I become an observer of the beauty of life. Like
Yeah.
today I was just looking outside and I see a sandhill crane and I'm just watching it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm just observing something so beautiful. And it's like a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel privileged to be able to observe
Mm-hmm.
life around me now.
Okay.
And instead of totally engaging in it.
Yeah.
And it's really allowed me to step back away from myself and my anger.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying. There's a lot of things that,
Yeah.
a lot of verbiage, language that I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
I hated for a long time. I hated people for a long time. They were,
Yeah.
well, humanity was, I saw it very, very broken.
Mm-hmm.
And now I see it broken in a different way.
Yeah.
And I was judgmental and resentful and all these things. And now, because of this podcast, I think everybody has a story. And there's not a person I won't talk to that, some are not always sane. They're not
Mm-hmm.
always easy to talk to,
Yeah.
but they deserve the time that I'm available to give them. And I don't know what that's doing to me other than changing my perception of who I am, because now I'm changing people's day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm changing their day, which changes my day
Mm-hmm.
and changes my perception of myself, because I'm a terrible person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
Mm-hmm.
worthy of
Yeah.
people's attention, and I feel that every day. I feel it with my closest friends. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, I feel alone. I feel all these things, but I also know, like, as I observe, I have to observe my life and that I am significant and I am
Yeah.
worth something. And it may not be what I want, but it is definitely what I have. And so, yeah, I mean, I would never, and that's the crazy thing. Like, I totally get it. I know why you want to take your life. The pain is, it's unbearable. I get it.
Yeah.
But you also have the value, which I never saw in myself. You also have the value to help change other people's lives, especially because you're intelligent and you're articulate and you are the observer. So you know when you're off, you know when you're on, you know, like you have a good foundation and compass of who you are, which allows you to help other people. So that's
There's a lot of irony in that, huh?
there is, but that's okay. People don't understand that. You're going to walk in contradiction with how you feel when you try to help other people with the pains that you feel. And I know you might be like, I'm not helping anybody. When, yeah, you are. By just
Mm-hmm.
speaking out, you're helping people. I'll guarantee you.
Thank you. I think so much of that resonates. There is safety in suicide, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much safety in that idea of,
Yep.
there's this thing I can do, and I'll never have to deal with it ever again, ever. I'll never have to feel this way for not a second more. I'll just be
Yep.
painless. Uh, Suicide is so safe, and it does. Suicidality does keep me, most of us, some of us, in a comfort zone, and so it's like you don't even want to peel back that curtain and see, what the hell life could be about. I know I don't,
Right.
because I already feel like I already had the best life ever. I would wake up every day and be like, today's my favorite day. I was just so happy. I was so incredibly happy. Um, but with the BPD stuff presenting and all that, I don't know. I hear you talking about helping other people, yet you don't really feel that. You're good at it and you have a knack for it. And you're very safe about it. You feel very safe, in the most loving way. Um, but yet, you say, yeah, I don't really X, Y, and Z. For me too. I'm just like, help
Mm-hmm.
who? Do what? Like what? What should I care? Of course, that's
Right.
that's nice and all. But
Yep.
in my head, that's nice and all. That was my
Yep.
real.
I know.
Yeah, that was my real. Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, and I'll go back to an earlier statement. I have to believe the people that are affirming me.
Hmm.
So often in my life, I believe the people that destroyed me,
Yeah.
and I got tired of believing them.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
Is I don't know why I'm on this journey. I exposed myself to the world over suicide.
Mm-hmm.
It's what brought you and I together.
Correct.
Um, without being sick and tired, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I had to get to a point that was I don't know how to really unpack this, so it's kind of new. It actually is new. I haven't really spoken about like me trying to hold on to suicide
Yeah.
because it's leaving me for some reason. I don't want it to, because it is a comfort for me. It is like this sanctuary that I know really, really well,
Yeah.
and I'm scared that
Mm-hmm.
when my option is gone, when I have this, this thing that I've slept with for
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
since 12 years old. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
it's I'm just scared that it's going to leave. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm hoping this sticks, but I don't believe it'll stick.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope it will.
Yeah.
But that's the most hope I've had in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what did it take for me to get here? And oftentimes, and I don't know if this is a male thing for me, oftentimes seeing myself one of two things: climbing a mountain
Mm-hmm.
or digging my swords in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
And kneeling down to the things that are trying to destroy me. And what I mean by that, and Jordan Peterson says this, he's like, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And it's better to be formidable and have that ability and never draw your sword than it is to never have that ability and be caught in a war that you see. And I think that's where I've always been. I've always been the gardener and never been able to fight the war that was at my doorstep. Now I'm starting to strengthen. Now I'm starting to take that 44 years of struggle and suffering, and it's starting to flip. I don't want anybody to go 44 years and have to do that. But I think there's ways that, and I think this is part of it. I think having conversations, understanding your value, understanding my value, understanding worth, that even though our struggle is intense and severe, like I got your email, I started crying right away.
Did you?
Like it just, like I'm doubled over.
Good. I mean, not good, but like, I'm glad you heard me and that I was appreciative for you and that I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. Because as your closing statement, I think it was, I'd have to pull up my phone, which I think I shut off, but it was, I don't want you to die or something like that.
I want you to stay.
And I want you to stay. That's right. Yes. And that would be my, how would you say that? Employment? How do you say? I would implore you to do the same.
Yeah.
Because part of this is we don't have that voice. And but I'm giving you that opportunity. I'm giving you that option to always have a friend, to hear your words, to hear your struggle, to listen to you cry, to listen to you scream and struggle. And, just, I don't know. I can't fully understand what you go through. I can't even probably come close to it. All I can do is relate my own pain to it and the suffering that I understand in my own. But I'm always available, as I think you probably would be for somebody like me. That, yeah. See, and that's don't take away the love that you would have for humanity because you feel the suffering and the darkness. And that's, anytime you give light to people, it will extinguish your darkness at least a little bit and at least for a moment. And I realized that this last year, like those moments I would be intentional about smiling at somebody or saying hello or how's your day. Number one, it takes the social anxiety away from me. It puts me out there, but it also, the response is 90% of the people are very responsive and people just want to be seen even for a moment. And I think you probably have the ability to do that.
I think you do.
It's because of the heart orientation. And I know you say you don't have a lot of emotion behind that, but you have a lot of care. I mean, that was the first thing I was like, oh, you have this lovely, angelic nature about you, even though you may not feel it inside. And that's where you have to believe other people. Believe that you are worthy. Believe that you are this, because I don't believe I am. But damn it, I can't. It's hard to argue with the evidence that's happening, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can come up with an argument and call bullshit all day long, but if I really take a look at it, if I'm just being honest, I'm actually doing a good thing, and I'm pretty good at it. I think. I'm trying to believe that I am.
I would say so. I think your words of on the YouTube video of just having someone sit with you, just having someone say that they can't fix it for you. They probably can't in all likelihood. But I'll sit with you. I'll walk with you.
Yeah.
Like that is
Absolutely.
so gut-wrenching in the best way possible.
Go ahead.
Because that's the reality of suicidality, is that in all the things actually, is that there is no person on a white horse that's going to come in and swoop you up. There is no magical door sitting on a cloud that's just going to open up. But the best thing and the most amount of comfort and peace that I have gotten in the most terrible moments in my life is, people saying to me, I'm here with you, and that is it. And even if they couldn't fix the problem. So when you kept saying, I'll just walk with you because that's all I can do. I'm like, that's more than enough. You know what I mean? Like,
it's a lot, isn't it?
It is.
And it doesn't take much effort.
No.
It just says, hey, if I give you, you're struggling today. I give you an hour of my time to hear your struggles or you hear mine.
Yeah.
Well, number one, we've taught each other something.
Correct.
But number two, we've carried a burden together that was unbearable.
Right.
And that's what we don't have.
Yeah.
As there's not a community of people that and I see this in my friend's face, and I've talked about them on the podcast on the Soft White Underbelly. Is I have these amazing men in my life. Yeah. They're strong, they're powerful, they're smart, they're intelligent, they're articulate, they're solid foundation guys, and they have a really hard time listening to this because this is my language, and I have a really hard time talking to them about it because I know it hurts them. So we're in new territory as far as in a great way. And this is what counselors and therapists talk about, and that's building a community, but they're unable to do it because there's always somebody at point trying to lead the conversation and give the conversation, and not just, it's always in that counseling situation where, I want to be a counselor, but maybe I'm in the best position possible because I'm not a counselor. Yeah. I'm just a guy that I don't have to do anything but walk beside you and love you and encourage you and hopefully get the same back. Yeah. And that's what I want to provide for you, because I think you have something more than what you think you have ahead of you. And I think you can navigate. I think you have the intelligence and the emotional intelligence, maybe not right yet, to navigate this in a way that you can show other people how to do it. And if it's just one person, that's more than worth it. Just one email it was like profound. Like, just because of this, it was worth going to the Soft White Underbelly. And I'll tell you about my story at some time, but I almost took my life after that interview. Really? I mean, I was going to take my life. Right. Yep. And I won't get on it because I don't want to like badmouth anybody, but
same.
Yeah, and like even then I stepped back and
wondering that.
Yeah, and I just stepped back and I was like, I don't know the result. So I'm not going to buck the system. I'm not going to be angry. I'm going to give grace. And I never expected anybody to send me an email. And I've gotten several with stories that are just, and I can't, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm scared. Yeah. Very scared. Because now I'm navigating with people who are like me. And that's a heavy load to like put on your shoulders, but it's a good thing. Yeah. I mean, you're more than pleasant. I mean, you're articulate and nice to talk to, easy to talk to. There's these qualities that you have that you would be a good advocate for people like you.
Thank you.
I don't want to put that pressure on you. I don't know.
No, I get it.
Okay. It's meant as a compliment. No, I'm not trying to push you in a direction.
No, I received it in the way it was meant. It was good.
Okay, good. Good.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more. I mean, how do you think how and this is what I'll challenge you with.
Mm-hmm.
How would taking your life, have you looked at it from the people that would lose you,
Mm-hmm.
their perspective?
Yeah. So I have, again, very
Right.
unfortunately low levels of connection and empathy. So that's not normally a thought that has a lot of intensity over me when I do feel it, a lot of like weight to it. Um,
Right.
but I would say the thing that keeps kind of keeping me at bay is the constant reminders by, family being like, well, Nana would just drop dead. Nana would drop dead when she finds out, right? Like, you would kill Nana too. And you know what I mean? Like, things like that, like
So,
the
yeah.
framing and receiving of the
Mhm.
suicidality is so harsh, but it's real. It's coming from a real place from other people. And just because they don't know how to,
They don't know how to respond to
yeah,
it.
it's
Yeah.
whatever. But definitely having that continuously instilled in my head is just so bad.
So there's this, and I'm sure you heard it on the interview, and this is what it really hit me between the eyes because I was on the edge at one point, and that was David Goggins,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, "You don't quit when you're tired, you
Mm-hmm.
quit when you're done."
Yeah,
And it's like, well, what does that mean to be done?
yeah.
Like, because every day I get up, I'm like, I'm so fucking tired today. But are you done?
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, I'm not, no, I guess not. I guess I'm not done today.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm not done today because, God damn it, I'm Irish and I've got a lot of fight in me, and I'll go toe to toe with anything.
Mm-hmm.
And and then you're like, well, then you need to go toe to toe with life and get up and move. I couldn't move for years. Once I get depressed, I couldn't move.
Yeah.
I can totally function in my depression now. It is the weirdest thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been able to, but I'm changing my narrative by changing other people's day.
Yeah.
I change mine.
Yeah.
By them changing my day, I change other people's day.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't. I think the language, my English is off there.
No, it makes sense. Yeah, it's full circle.
Yeah, and you can tell people these things. It's practicing them in your own life that
Yeah.
is the difficult thing.
Yeah.
Because every day I go out, I'm like, well, when I started walking towards my death, I was like, I'm gonna go live.
Mm-hmm.
The last 6 months of my life, I'm gonna go live.
Yeah.
I bought a bunch of toys, bought a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of shit,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then was like, how about you spend the last 6 months telling your friends you're gonna take your life
Mm-hmm.
and trying to save your friend who wants to take her life?
Yeah. Yep.
Like, why don't you actually do something significant for once in your life, Britain? And
Mm-hmm.
well, I'm still here.
You are.
I mean, yeah,
You are.
and I keep fighting for that every day. And at certain times in my life, my kids have kept me alive,
Mm-hmm.
family members,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
girlfriends, friends, you name it. Something has always kind of kept me alive until I started looking for life for myself. And that was about 6 years ago. I stopped being my own victim, stopped lamenting over my past, even though it's still traumatic and has this effect on me. And that I'm more like I'm an emotional nutcase now. Like I
Mm-hmm.
cry all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but it's always in private, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's that lamentation of like I hear your story, and Britain, I've got a month, and I'm like, it's just a kick to the gut, and I'm just like, but I get it, and I understand it, and I want to change your mind, but I don't because I know it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, but you don't have to go through it alone, and you don't have to walk by yourself.
Thank you. And that alone is
And
so powerful. It's through and through. It's full circle. That
yeah,
should be your slogan, logo, everything. Put it on a t-shirt. I'll buy 10. Like, walk with me or I'll walk with you. Like, just wrap me up.
hey,
Like, it's so intentional and safe and also like brings an aspect of like solitude, but like I don't have to be lonely within the solitude, because if I don't want to talk, this other person isn't going to make me talk. You can just sit in silence, and
Right.
it could just be the
Yeah.
best thing. You know what I mean? It's just perfect. It's just perfect. The
Yeah.
way you
I love being able
also grabbed
to,
me for sure.
yeah, I love being able to be around somebody and not have to feel like they have to entertain me
Yeah,
or take care of me.
yeah,
But the presence of somebody keeps me um, very sane,
yeah,
to be honest.
yeah.
It does. It keeps me from flying off the rails at frustrations. It keeps me from
Hmm.
losing my mind on little things. It
Hmm.
keeps me from being so angry and rageful.
Yeah.
It forces me into this narrative that I have to be conscious of
Hmm.
me and my behaviors.
Yeah.
And when I'm alone, my behaviors are not.
Hmm.
I'll throw a fucking fit.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
I look like a 54-year-old man in a child's
Temper tantrum. Yep.
temper tantrum.
That's what
Yeah.
BPD is. Yeah. Exactly.
Is
To
it?
the T. Yeah. Just adult temper tantrums, kicking, screaming, throwing, crying, fetal
Yeah.
position, everything. Same thing. Yeah. So I get it. I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Uh,
Like, and I would say, like, one of my things was even my anger alone is enough for me to take my life.
mhm. Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand. Like, I live with a rage deep within myself that, I mean, I'm so lucky I haven't hurt anybody
Mhm.
in a severe way,
Yeah.
but I'm so tired of being angry.
Yeah.
Like, just being angry. I'm just
Yeah.
like over it.
Anger.
And it's not just a little bit of anger. It's not just frustration. It's a rage. It's
Yeah.
deep seated rage.
Yeah.
So you understand that.
I don't, but in the
You
moments
don't.
where I have experienced it, anger and rage, and I mean this in the most like respectful way possible, my genuine thoughts were, I am so effing happy that I miss out on this effing emotion because this is debilitating. Anger,
Yeah.
rage, rage, like, oh my God, those moments for me. I've
Yeah.
never been more grateful than in those moments where I'm like, holy shit, I am so glad that this isn't something I experience normally, because it would be it would be reason 1 through 13 for me. Do you know
Right.
you know the 13 Reasons movie?
Right.
That's so long ago. I don't know if
Yeah.
anyone remembers it. But
Uh-uh.
yeah, no, I I don't understand it, but I have had moments where I understood it in a fractionable amount, and even that little
Mm.
fraction that I got was enough for me to be like, holy shit, people deal with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can only
And
imagine.
so do you have anxiety?
No.
No.
And so,
See, that's I've experienced little bouts of that, minor,
yeah.
and I'm glad I'm me.
Yeah.
I'm glad I struggle with suicide
Yeah.
because that's torment.
Yeah.
Like that's anxiety
Yeah.
is in severe cases you can't breathe, you
Hmm.
can't
Hmm.
think. I mean, you just shut down and you're like racing. And I'm just like, and that's one of the things I'm like, really? I should be thankful for,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I am.
Yeah. No.
I
Yeah.
am. So a story this
Hmm.
year that really happened to me, and it hasn't fully changed my like that suicide ideology, but I became thankful for everything that has happened to me. I became, because I couldn't do what I'm doing right now without every single thing that has happened to me. And even to the point where I've lost contact with my kids and my grandkids and had to walk towards my death. Without all that stuff, I would not be able to sit here and have a conversation with somebody because the shame and the ridicule and the ostracization is just, it's too much.
Yeah.
Um,
A similar thing happened to me after my first suicide attempt. It was, self-aborted, and I was so mad at myself, and that my limbic system calmed down. Like, I was so mad. um, and so obviously I was planning on attempting again in a couple months or a couple weeks. But I wanted a little joyride first, for sure. I wanted to live boundlessly. bountifully.
Yeah.
I wanted,
Yeah.
yeah. And those were the moments where I found the most joy in life, where I fell in love with everything, everywhere, all at once. And not romantic love, but like, you know what I mean? Um,
Right. Right.
you do find that beauty and you do find that appreciation and you do find all the things in the moment.
Well, it is a romance.
No, not
It is a
necessarily
romance.
romance. No.
Well, I mean, with like, I find that with nature, I find
Oh,
this incredible peace
no, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. The
joy,
peace.
and that is my romance for.
Mm,
I don't get a lot of peace, so when I find it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so.
yeah,
It's so romantic in the
that's
moment because
true.
everything becomes more beautiful,
That's true.
and
Yeah.
I have this romantic dance with suicide
Mm,
that I'm always doing.
hmm.
So why can't I have that with
Yeah.
life? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, how do I continue finding those avenues and lessening, like, keep reducing that 25% of depression and anxiety and all that shit
Yeah.
into a different romantic dance.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. That's just kind of the way
You're
I felt
so
about
right. You're
it.
so right, though, because if you don't have to put out the fires that your head creates all day long, that your trauma creates all
Right.
day long, that your life experience and torment and everything creates all day long, you just focus on a different fire that you choose to place in front of you.
Yeah,
It's perfect. It does. It does.
it
It
is.
does help because you don't have to.
So
You just
there's,
get to focus on something else and
yeah,
deal with something that's not yours. Which,
yeah,
like, I'll take that all day long. Of course,
right.
that's naive and arrogant, but anyone would say that in their own position. That's just genuinely the human experience. So,
Yeah, thank you. Well, thanks for trusting me. I mean, that's not hard. That's not easy to do. So,
thank you.
and then to do it on film or even on audio is very difficult to do. So
Yeah,
I really appreciate you being here. And
I
I
appreciate
mean, again, yeah, you got a friend in me, as Woody would say.
you.
I think it was Woody.
Yeah, right.
Or was it Buzz?
I think
One of
it
those
was.
two.